NTN's been my home for over 40 years. My first play I did at NTN was in 1983. We all get pretentious, we don't want to call ourselves artists. I don't know why artists get pretentious about being called artists, but I just call myself a theatre person. Hello, I'm Sandy Wright, theatre person. NTN's been my home for over 40 years. My first play I did at NTN was in 1983. I did There Was an Old Woman, full-on musical, and it was very scary. I'd just come from Zimbabwe and I had to just kind of start from scratch because NTN in those days was still under the South African regime and they weren't encouraging any kind of local theatre. It was just a show place for all the South African theatre. So it was one of the first big amateur productions. And that was just really exciting. And it was, NTN became my second home and it was beautiful. And we're now, what, 50, 45, whatever, from 82 to now and I've done lots and lots of shows. So I'm just here to share my NTN life with beautiful place, beautiful people. It's just always been so well run and it's just still a beautiful place. People come from overseas and they can't believe just how wonderful NTN is. Just a perfect, incredible theatre for our small little country. It's amazing. We're lucky. There wasn't any amateur theatre in Namibia, where I come from. Zimbabwe, where there's, and Malawi and Zambia. I lived 4 independences in my life. So those countries all had very strong amateur theatre. So I was just brought up with that. And then we had to start our own amateur theatre group. And it was difficult because there was no, it was just difficult finding the people, the costume makers, the props makers, the designers. You have all these theatres in Zimbabwe that each town has its own little theatre. So we had to start. We just started rolling with playmakers. And then I got to a point of being frustrated, of not knowing where to go. And so I went to Prof. Behrens and just said, I'm not a happy director, I feel. And he said, well, the trouble is you haven't got any qualifications. He offered me a place at UNAM. I went as a mature student. Going to university at 37, I highly recommend it to everyone who's having a midlife crisis, because you become a student again and tick, tick, tick. So it was so beautiful, and at UNAM I had the most amazing time. I'm with Ernst Steinberg, was my varsity mate, and he's one of the main, in fact he's producing and directing the show, which is fabulous. I think it's wonderful having the practical knowledge, but if you've ever got a chance, and you don't even have to go to university to get theory. You can read theory books just to understand. I watched the prof in the Report to the Academy when he played an ape, and I just put my head on the steering wheel when I came out of that, because I didn't understand one bit of it. And I thought, I cannot be in theatre if I can't understand this extraordinary play. I'm just so happy I got theory and understood then absurd theatre, which ironically became one of my most favourite genres. Having got my education, I could then go and work at the College of the Arts for 20 years, which was my dream best job. It was my happiest of days. So I think the first big play I did in Windhoek, in the big theatre, that's when I knew I could do it. I got confidence. So I could say that There Was an Old Woman. Michelle McLean was in that. That was her very first production. There Was an Old Woman. It was about the old woman who lived in the shoe. Full musical with Rita Louise. Such an ambitious piece when I think of it now. Orchestra, music. And I think the play that made me the most ecstatic with my work was The Lesson, with Ndino and Weasel and Lalau, because that was a tough piece. And we won all awards for that. We swept awards that year, everything. Then I think the greatest play of my life is I Am John. That's when I did the tribute to John Maffingale. That was, it was originally called Life is Interesting, named after one of his pieces of work. But then, because I knew John Maffingale, and he and I knew him quite well. We would live neighbours when I first came to this country. And then there was that big book, you can take a picture of it just there, you can see all the pictures that I chose. But I eventually had to change the name of the play to I Am John, a love story, because I truly believed, when I had to go through 260 images and choose the ones that truly caught the essence of him, I just felt him. He came in my dreams, and I just fell in love with him. So actually, I Am John, a love story, is actually my love story with John. And that to me was with the youth choir, and we just had these big screens, and we just used the theatre magnificently. My opus magnus, I think, is that the word? Being a theatre director, there is no sexism or no gender in theatre. So me being a director from day one was never a problem. I do think it is one of the rare art forms where women are totally accepted as directors. So in Namibia, so it's great the more women we see and working with children and youngsters, and just realizing they can be whatever they want to be. You can be whatever you want to be. It can be. One of the things that I do, and I think that's been very popular, I've made stories, I Namibianize them, I call it. So I try and bring, most of my plays have, like when I did Hot Mikado, which is meant to be in a Japanese tea room, we did it in a shebeen with a billiards table, and it was just this beautiful, crazy shebeen. And then then I used to try and use different languages, and I found a technique of using our local languages, where someone would say, "Hello, what's your name?" And then you'd have the kind of reverse, and then there'd be the vernacular. Mm-hmm. So people would just be talking double all the time. So I always tried to bring language into it. And then, of course, with Meme Mia, Meme, not Mama. Meme Mia was the ultimate Namibianization. We set it 30 years post UNTAG. We had it on a little lodge, it was fun. We had the UNTAG people, we had Tuli, who had all these different fathers, and they were all different UNTAG guys, and they all came to the wedding in their UNTAG kits, and so we had that, lots of beautiful Cynthia, darling Cynthia, she got Best Actress for that, and she came and she just did all the Afrikaans. So I try and bring as many different languages in as possible. Mm-hmm. And I think that and working with the students, especially many of the students were from the north, the African performing arts students. So we would find Namibian tales, and we would zoom them up, and we did a lot of come to the villages at the college, was telling stories and finding out stories. I went into one big TV shop the other day, and I nearly fell over backwards when I saw the size of the TV. It was the size of one of these pictures, and I was shocked. I thought, this is the end of cinema, this is the end of theatre, this is the end. It made me so sad. People just want to just stay at home. And the big challenge for theatre people, because we've got to have theatre, because they can't, you've got to have actors for you to look on in that screen. So we have to try and get people to get away from their big screens and their comfort. And I think we've got to just be very, very creative, and we've got to see, and I think theatre must, I mean, Chekhov was about 4 hours, that's rubbish. You can't do anything more than an hour because people's concentration. So these are little techniques, and look for things that are now. And of course, dear Namibian schools and education, we have to teach the arts in the school, because if we don't teach arts in the school, we cannot get any artists. And that is shocking, shocking beyond anything. If you want me to go mad and crazy, I will, because I will point fingers, and that's rude, but my heart breaks. I just tell parents, I said, and I told the story once and a mother heard it, and it made me happy. I said, if your child is picking up the brush and singing into it, which I used to do all the time, was going to be Miss Fabulous. I did that since I could pick up a brush, and I started directing my family in these little plays in the bay windows of our house. So I was already doing it as a child. If your child doesn't want to play football or just wants to draw in the sand, let them. And if your child's drawing in the sand, that means that they have got a gift inside them to be an artist. So encourage what your children do in play is what their gift is, because that is the signs you need as a parent to see where your child's passion is through play. And of course, play is dying with bloody cut. Just, play is just so important, and you just see these kids going chinka, 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 chinka. At Independence, we wrote a whole integrated arts syllabus. We spent hours and hours out at Okamanya writing that. We wrote the most beautiful integrated arts syllabus. And we were going to train, it was meant to be in a teacher's training, so you would go to trainings, to the teacher's training college or whatever, and you would do so that meant you had to play an instrument. And it was such a beautiful syllabus.
And then
people are so afraid of the arts. We're such a threat to we are just gentle people, and no one dies in the arts. I think sometimes people are threatened by art because art is so powerful, and it can show bits of you that you don't want to acknowledge. And I think that is very fearful for many people. You can't come to your own terms of your own prejudices or your own relationships. And when you see a piece of art that talks to you, and that's what art has to do. If you can share what you're feeling inside, and the person looking can understand your story, then and it just makes them, it just gives them a new way of looking. And people are afraid of looking at things. They just want to be blinkered. They are afraid to open their horizons. I guess that's what art frightens people. I mean, the LGBT, don't get me onto that. That'll make me go even more mad. It's just the drag queens are just beautiful, extraordinary people. I work with them a lot, and they're going to be in my show, and I can't wait, because they're singing numbers. I don't want to say too much about this. I think the best thing with this project is that we're archiving everything. We've taken all the CDs, we're putting them onto whatever you do, but putting things into
computers.
Into computers, exactly. So Lisa's doing that, and Dino is doing a full-on archive with us students. So there's going to be, I'm typing up, I'm rewriting all my scripts, writing up, so we're going to do a massive archiving. So instead of writing a book of memoirs about my life, which I often thought could be fun, but I think this is more important. If I can say I'm happy with my legacy, to leave Namibia with all those scripts, all those ideas, and just hopefully they will just inspire new ideas. It's just getting inspired with other people's work. And if I can just get people into the theatre forever, that's all we all want. All of us who are watching this, because we love NTM. We love it. It's got to be our theatre, our home.